Hello everyone, so welcome to the Tour de France quiz questions. A little bit longer this time. We've got 23 questions for you for the Tour de France. As you know, we've been posting these one a day over the course of the 3-week tour. Now, as you all know, the Tour de France was originally due to set off on Saturday the 27th of June, finishing on Sunday the 19th of July. It was cancelled. So it's been moved back now till the end of August, August the 29th. It was originally due to start a bit earlier than normal in June because of the Olympic Games in Tokyo later this year. But of course they also were moved to next year. So what we did, we thought we'll still post the questions out for the tour. Then you've had a little bit of an appetizer, if you like, before the tour itself starts in August. So I'm going to go through these questions. They're a mixture of geography, cuisines, famous riders, places. So even if you're not a Tour de France expert, you should still be able to get quite a few. So if we're ready, and here we go. Question number 1. So this year's Tour de France starts in Nice, but in what decade did the Tour de France last start in Nice? So in what decade did the tour last start in Nice? That's the number 1. Number 2, so starting the tour in Nice means that by stage 2 we're straight into the mountains. A steep climb up the Col de la Colmiana. But what is the colour of the jersey given to the rider leading the mountains points competition in the tour? What is the colour of the jersey that we give to the leader of the mountain points competition? Number 3. Today's relatively flat stage in the southeast of France takes the riders along the route that a famous individual took on his return from exile on the island of Elba. Who was that famous individual? Who was exiled on Elba and then was released? Number 4. Stage 4 today sees an altitude finish, which is very rare so early in the tour. There are 5 classes of mountain based on steepness and length. But what is the toughest mountain category known as? What's the toughest mountain category known as? So that's 4. And question 5. Stage 5 today sees the rider set off from Gap. In the 2003 Centenary Tour, which rider crashed just 4 kilometres short of the stage finishing gap? He broke his leg, and it caused a certain Lance Armstrong to ride through a field and rejoin the race. So who was the rider who crashed in the 2003 Tour 4 kilometres short of the finish in Gap? Number 6. Today's 6th stage finishes on the summit of Mount Aiguille. The Col de Mont Aiguille was used by the Tour back in 1987 when Silvano Contini was the first rider over the summit. But which rider went on to become the Tour de France champion that same year? So number 6, which rider became Tour de France champion in 1987? Which brings us on to question 7. The stage today travels to the finishing town of Lavoie in southwestern France. In this area of France, the winds can be very strong, which could potentially cause a big problem for the sprinting teams. What is the name of the diagonal pace line formation that the peloton adopts when faced with these strong crosswinds? So what's the name of the peloton formation that's adopted when they meet strong crosswinds? Number 8. The first day in the Pyrenees today sees the climb of the famous Col de Peyresourde. Which Briton in 2016 made a daring descent attack from the top of this col, which led him to a solo stage victory? Which famous rider in the 2016 Tour made a daring descent attack from the top of this col, the Peyresord. Number 9. Today's stage sees a very tough day of climbing the Pyrenees. It starts in the city of Pau, but back in 2007, which yellow jersey wearer was thrown off the Tour in Pau by his team due to doping allegations? That's number 9. Who was thrown off the Tour wearing the yellow jersey in 2007 for doping allegations? Number 10. Today the riders have the first rest day of the Tour. Now this year the route does not climb up the iconic Mont Ventoux, probably the most famous and feared climb of all climbs in the Tour de France. But which British rider collapsed and then went on to die climbing this famous Mont Ventoux in the 1967 Tour? So number 10, which British rider in 1967 collapsed and died on Mont Ventoux? Number 11, the route today is mainly set by the sea, visiting 2 islands. The start is on the second largest island in Metropolitan France, Oleron. But what is the largest island in Metropolitan France? That's number 11. What is the largest island in Metropolitan France? Number 12. Today's stage finish in Poitiers, which becomes a stage for the 9th time. The nearby Future Scope resort makes a perfect place for the time trial, and it was at this site in 2000 that a British rider won on his very first day on the Tour de France. But who was that rider? So which British rider won on his first day in the Tour in 2000 at the Future Scope resort? Number 13. The finishing point today is at Saran-Corrèze, which is only around 300 inhabitants, very small. But which famous French president put this area on the map, having established himself there politically? Which famous French president established himself in Saran-Corrèze? That's number 13. Number 14. Today's 13th stage provides a first-time finish at Puy-Marie and will finish the biggest elevation gain of the 2020 Tour, with a total of 4,400 metres of climbing. But what is the name of this mountainous region in the middle of southern France? That's 14. What's the name of the mountainous region in the middle of southern France? Number 16. The route continues eastward today and finishes in Lyon, which becomes a stage city for her 18th time. It was in Lyon that the first ever stage of the Tour de France finished in 1903. But in modern times, Lyon was developed a reputation for the capital of what? That's 15. Lyon has developed a reputation for the capital of what? Number 16. Today we'll see an almost entire climb of the Col de Grande Colombière, where the race will finish for the very first time. In 2012, the Tour did visit this climb for the first time when a French rider was first over the summit and then he went on to take the stage win. Who was that rider? Who was the French rider who was the first over the summit of the Col de Grande Colombière in the 2012 Tour? 17. We have the second rest day of the Tour de France today, after yesterday's climb up the Colombière. Which rider, widely considered as probably the best climber of all time, went on to become only one of 7 riders to win the Giro d'Italia and the Tour de France in the same year when he did so in 1998? That's number 17. Number 18. Another mountain stage today, and we will be finishing on the climb up to Virenque, which has been a stage 9 times. In the 1968 Winter Olympics, it came to neighbouring Grenoble. but Villard de Lans hosted one of the winter sports that year. What sport did Villard de Lans host? What was it? That's question 18. Number 19. Another tough mountain stage in the Alps, in the ski resort today of Meribel. The stage finishes on the famous Col de la Madeleine, which back in the 1997 Tour saw an epic battle between Richard Virenque and Jan Ullrich. Virenque won the stage that day, but went on to claim the 1997 King of the Mountains title. How many King of the Mountains titles did Richard Virenque go on to win? That's number 19. How many Tour King of the Mountains did Richard Virenque go on to win? Number 20. You're doing well. So keep at it. Number 20. Today's stage has over 4,000 metres of climbing. Wow. One of the final climbs of the day will be the Plateau de Glières. The Glières Plateau is a high, remote mountain table close to Lake Annecy. Why was the Glières Plateau so significant in World War II? Why was the Glières Plateau so significant in World War II? 3 questions to go. Number 21. A relatively flat stage today, finishing in Champs in the eastern part of France. Champs will be a stage city for the 3rd time today. One of its food specialities is comté. What food is comté? That's 21. Penultimate question, 22. A 36-kilometre individual time trial awaits the riders today, but what makes it even harder is the uphill climb to the finish at La Planche de Balfier. This climb is 6 kilometres long with an average of 8.5%. In the 2012 Tour, this climb hosted the finish in which Team Sky managed an epic double. What was the epic double on the La Planche de Balfier? La Planche de Balfier. And number 23. The Tour finishes today on the cobbles of the Champs Elysees. This is the day for the sprinters to win one of the most coveted stages of all sprinting. In 2012, Mark Cavendish won the sprint on the Champs Elysees and by doing so set a record. What was that record that Mark Cavendish set? So that's your 23 questions complete. I hope you enjoy that little journey through this year's Tour de France, and I hope you managed to get some of the answers. All right, so we'll go through the answers soon, and enjoy the day. Bye-bye for now. Bye.